everybody. Welcome back to So, Who Are You Really? Real Life Spirituality. I'm the moderator, Chris Lanning, and I want to introduce my hosts once again, Bryan Winston and Jody Lemieux. Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey Chris, hey Bryan.
Hey Jody, hey Chris.
Now, on our last episode, we were actually talking about how your level and quality of consciousness can affect your physical self. And in talking about that, Jody actually brought up a point about how things happen to you or happen for you versus to you. So we wanted to explore that a little bit further in looking at how you can reframe things to change the direction of them. So Jody, I'm going to start with you once again. Kind of explain that concept of things happening to you versus happening for you.
Okay, so a beautiful example is the difference between love and fear. So taking the perspective, love is an action, and it's also a state of being. And fear is also an action and a state of being. So they're both. However, they're on the other opposite ends. And personally, I've experienced fear myself. And when I was judging myself for being afraid of something, I started to prevent myself from taking courageous movements and actions in my life. So I was in a reactive state. I was in a paralysis. I was avoiding making decisions, avoiding making choices, avoiding life. And so when I was in this reactive state, I recognized the disempowering what was going on in me personally. And so when the word fear came up and to be afraid and judging myself for being afraid, I recognized the judgment of it. And if I were to believe that God creates everything and God creates fear, well, why was I judging fear? And I even took it a step further. I was judging God. And I'm like, wow, who am I to judge God? That's really powerful. And so embracing fear means I'm embracing God. And so when I embraced my fear, in my fear, I find love. In my fear, I find God, because God is love. And so if God's creating all things and I embrace all things, well, embracing all things sets me free. Truth sets me free. And so when truth sets me free and I embrace fear, well, it's because I'm now understanding my fear is part of my truth. And so for me to avoid fear and to avoid it was to avoid even loving myself. And so, again, the polar opposites, embracing fear to love myself and to love God.
That is amazingly powerful. And I want to just reiterate that big point that she made is that within the fear, because it was made by God, God is there in the fear. But since God is love, that means love is within the fear. But that's a great way to reframe it. So we always, when we're in fear, we always worry that there's like an absence of love a lot of times, but it's there. It's there. We're seeing that love within the fear. That one has really hit home with me. I appreciate that. Bryan, what are your thoughts on it?
I got a lot of thoughts.
Really?
Yeah. So that when we think about fear, when we experience fear, it's actually a void. It's a lack of something. And when we experience love, it is creation. It is something, right? So fear is like no thing, and love is everything, right? It's creation. So with Jody, when I heard Jody talk, when I heard Jody speak about this relationship, she's filling in the no thing with something, right? So she's actually talking about creation, right? Where there is no thing, there is now something, which is love. So you think about when you're in fear, it's I don't have enough money, or I'm not, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough business, I don't have enough health, I don't have enough life, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough. Right? It's all these I don't have enough. There's a fear of a void, of nothing, of a no thing. It's consciousness perceiving a no thing or a lack. But when we bring love into it, it starts to be a creation. It starts to be now there is a thing there. So that's what comes up for me is this relationship between no thing and something, and that's the relationship between fear and love. Because fear is really it's no thing in and of itself. It's a lack of love, or a perceived lack of love. So it's not really a thing in and of itself.
Now, as you're saying that, what I'm seeing and thinking about is, you know, people throughout history have found that some of the greatest ideas come from those moments of intense fear. In fact, a lot of people put this into practice, people that like to put off the deadlines and start working on something just before deadline, because now it's that fear, that's that motivator, I got to get it done. And sometimes that stress, really interesting ideas come out. You know, you're really just trying to make the deadline, but it forces a level of creativity. That's kind of what I'm hearing what you're saying, is that in the fear, we have a lack. And we then are using that creativity to fill that lack. It's giving us a blank canvas that we need to fill in. Maybe more so than if we're not afraid and we just kind of go on with regular life, maybe we don't feel that urge, that motivation to fill that space. Would that be a fair assessment?
I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. That the fear is the catalyst, and maybe there's something about that I question about the fear being the catalyst. I think maybe you talk about like having that feeling before a presentation, or having that feeling before a deadline, and you could look at it as fear. You can also reframe that as excitement, right? And maybe that is um, part of creation, is that level of excitement. And maybe it comes from fear, but I don't know that something can come from nothing, right? I don't know if we could really, like, on a logical level, say that something can come from nothing, but something can come from something. So maybe what we're experiencing is creation, where there is nothing, then something comes through that and into fruition. And maybe what we experience is, I'm afraid, but maybe it's just really excitement. Maybe it's the beginning stages of creation that we're experiencing, and we're framing it as fear, but maybe it's really just excitement. I don't know. Maybe everything I'm saying is BS, but that's that's what's coming up for me as I heard you talk, Chris. What do you think,
I'm in
Jody?
agreement with you, Bryan. Absolutely, because I could see Chris question what you're saying. You can't. There is no creation from nothing, because fear has the void. And so if we're in a fear state, does creation come from fear? No, creation comes through fear. And so when we pause, when we're experiencing fear, we allow love in. And when we allow love in, it dissipates the fear. So fear is the one that's in the love is the creation rather than the fear. I'm going around in circles.
No. I think you took what I said, and you really, that love creates through fear. That because how could fear create? Right? Fear is only something that could destroy or take away, or even does it. Who knows? Maybe it does. Maybe there's an illusion of it. But love comes through fear. That makes more sense to me. It's almost like there's like light coming through space.
Yeah. And when we're in a state of motivation through fear, you're going to burn out. I know for myself personally, when I've been motivated by fear, I burn out very easily, and I tire and fatigue very quickly.
Didn't say it was the best way to live. I'm just saying it's, people use that. I don't know of anyone that's done that, but maybe, and I've even said in there, maybe this is where we were disconnected, is that I feel like the fear, because there's nothing is in us, that gives us the blank canvas for that love and for that creation. It probably also breaks down what we would otherwise, like filters that we might put in on our creation. Like, well, I don't know if that's going to, I don't have time to worry about that now. I got to get this done. And so maybe that allows us to bring forth some more unusual ideas that we would have otherwise kind of shot down in our normal flow of things.
No, I hear you, Chris, and I think that what you're saying is very valuable, and I think that, and what Jody is saying is also, what she's saying is that um, that 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 situation, or that the experience of fear, that when we see creation come through that experience, it's not that there's not fear there, or that it's that love. It's giving a place where love can come into. It's a place. It's a situation where there's an opportunity for love to come through. I think that's what I
Yes.
heard from Jody. And I think we're saying
Yeah.
the same thing. I think we're just saying different. They're saying it in different ways.
And Jody described that as light. And where is light its most intensest? When you're in the dark. Like when you're in a dark place, light is really, really bright and shines through. So there,
Beautiful.
good. All right. So Jody, we were talking earlier, and we wanted to look for like maybe an example of where reframing that can help, a very practical example. And you wanted to share one that you had come across recently.
Okay, so a client of mine is expressing feelings of fear. She's experiencing a knot in her stomach. She's experiencing her throat tightening up because she was afraid to speak up in a public setting, in a group setting, in a small breakout session. And so I brought this to her. I brought this perspective to her about embracing her fear, loving her fear, because when you're in a love state, the fear dissipates. And so guiding her to feel the fear, let it dissipate through love. Thank you, fear, for showing me my courageous love. Thank you, fear, for showing me my courageous love. This is a new decree she's building within herself, because as soon as she spoke these words, thank you, fear, for showing me my courageous love, immediately her fear dissipated and love came through her fear. And she was able to speak in the small group setting.
Now, that's interesting. Now, sorry, I'm going to ask this. Courageous fear. How would you better define that one?
You mean courageous love?
Sorry, courageous love. Yes. Courageous fear. We can figure that one out. Courageous love. Sorry.
How would I describe courageous love?
Yes.
Okay. So courageous love is a love, as we described earlier, it's an action, it's a movement. And so when you're courageous, you're in a state of being, you're in a state of movement, you're in a state of expressing your love. And when you're expressing, it's a movement. And so to be courageous is to move.
Instead of just being paralyzed with the fear.
Exactly. Yes. Go ahead, Bryan.
Ooh, no. So Jody and I just finished reading Letting Go, and David R. Hawkins' book, and he talks about the levels of consciousness. And from his perspective, courage is the first level of love, basically, right? His scale of consciousness goes all the way from death all the way to pure love, and the level that we have to cross, like the first initial level that we have to cross into truth, is through courage. And courage involves looking at is not looking away, but looking at the thing that you fear. And it's just looking at the fear and moving in the face of fear is what courage is. So it completely makes sense, and it only came to me through our conversation today that that's like the first level of love, is actually to look at your fear, and to continue and to start to take action in the face of fear.
All right.
It just came from me. It just came together for me just now.
So courage is taking action in the face of fear.
Yeah, I don't know that you can be courageous without the sense of fear. I don't know that that's doesn't that dismiss the term courage? If there's nothing fearful or nothing dangerous or something potentially dangerous, isn't that kind of just dismiss what the term means in and of itself? It's like bravery. Like there's nothing that's perilous or nothing that's fearful or nothing that's potentially dangerous there. Then can you be brave? Can you be courageous? If not, I think that they live together, right, Jody?
Yes.
So we didn't bravely walk through a warm, beautiful spring day.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a thing. I don't know if that's a thing at all.
So going back to practical examples of reframing, Jody offered one. Can you think of, it doesn't have to be a specific example like from a coaching client or anything, but just at a time that people things that they may generally run through where it would be helpful to reframe. Any ideas on that one, Bryan?
Well, I can go back to the whole idea of letting go. I remember, and this has happened lots of times in my life, where I'm just just not in a good place, just not in a good mental, emotional place. I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, or whatever. All those things, they tend to come together. They tend to live together, that gang. And at first, being resistant. I shouldn't be here. Oh man, you're a coach, Bryan. You read all these books. Look, you're still here, and you shouldn't be here. And then upon some of the studies that I've come upon is that the idea that no, just be here. No, just be here. Be here in this place. What are you really experiencing? Or what's really happening for you? And coming to terms with the fact that yeah, I'm feeling fearful. Yeah, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling sad, and noticing that at first I'm wrestling with this. But then after a while, when I come to the point where I stop wrestling and just come to the place of acceptance and courage and acceptance, that those in my experience, those feelings tend to quickly dissipate, and I find myself on the other side of it a lot quicker.
Awesome. Well, this has definitely been yet another useful episode because there's just so much that's coming out of this that we're hoping that you will be able to apply in your lives and really do that reframing. I mean, what a great technique when you're hitting those hard times to take that fear, that hate, that frustration, and reframe it, whether it's an opportunity for love, as Jody had mentioned, it's something that's happening for you rather than to you. It gives you an opportunity to realize something about yourself, to appreciate something about yourself, as Jody mentioned. You embrace the hate and thank it for showing you the courageous love you have that can then come in and dissipate the fear. And the fact that courage is just action in the face of fear. Use that love, give you the courage to just take action and move forward rather than living in the hate. Guys, this has been it's another great conversation. You guys rock. You know that?
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. You rock. How about that?
So if you have any examples that you'd like to share of reframing, we'd love to hear that. There'll be links down in the show notes. Again, we're doing this for you. We want to hear back from you, your thoughts, even ideas of things you'd like us to discuss going forward. Jody, Bryan, thank you. And everybody, have a great day.